But I think that getting out of that situation, I think the biggest thing that I wanted to accomplish was genuine independence as I define it. Mm-hmm. So what did I kind of saw myself and I'm like, what are things that I want to accomplish and what are things that I want to accomplish myself?
Right.
And starting to just go to those goals, like I, there's this, and while this was all happening, I was actually working at my at the bar, but I was also working at my brokerage.
Right.
So, which is part of it.
She's taking
right?
on a lot.
So part of this is like everybody at the bar. Part of me kind of was like, okay, I see that they're seeing this. This is embarrassing, but a lot of these people are my friends. Mm-hmm. But like, you can't go just to work at your regular office job and just,
have someone show up. Yeah.
Talk about this stuff or like have people know about this stuff. This is embarrassing. Like I work with 3 other guys, right? So like, not saying that they're insensitive to it, but like they're just like, this is not conversation that I'm having with them.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Although like they all have daughters, ironically. So like it would be probably a bizarre conversation to have with them. But so this is like not stuff you're taking to work with you. You know what I mean? Like I don't work with a bunch of women and you can kind of like talk about
Did you have a hard time leaving your home life away from your work life?
No, because it was a complete escape. Because everything was great at work. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know. That's
no. Like I mean, I would go to work and I'm like working with these people that are so amazing and like they're so nice and everything is like and they're motivating and they want to do these things and like build their business and build this team and do all this stuff and all of a sudden it was just like you almost like forgot about everything that was happening at home because you're like back into this like motivating, exciting, like happy world. That's right. So it was almost like. I don't want to say I didn't want to go home, but like I didn't want to go home, right? Yeah. Because everything was so good.
Did your stomach drop like with that moment when you're like, fuck, I gotta go home now? Like, was it?
I know that feeling. I know that feeling. Fuck.
Oh yeah, totally. Stomach dropping and like I think my stomach would drop when I would see him walk in the bar.
Would you describe that as being anxiety? I would.
Oh, totally. Like, well, and the thing is, like, the minute that he would walk into the bar was the minute that I was like, fuck.
My night's different.
Shit's gonna go down. I 100% knew it was gonna go down.
I can't imagine what that was like to live with.
Sometimes I can't even imagine what it was like to live with. You know what I mean? Like I just like so much shit happened that it was just like it was fucked. Like I can't even like you can't make this shit up. You know what I mean? Like that's the part that's so fucked up about it. Is you can't make this shit up.
It gets me upset thinking about it.
I know.
You must be the only sweetest people I've ever met.
Thanks.
And, like the only time I've ever seen her mad.
You know what the worst part about it is, and this I think will sound kind of screwed up in a way.
Say it, please.
But like, I think that there's part of me that like, I'm just like, how did I get to a point where I actually made this person so upset with me? Regardless of the fact that it doesn't. You. No, I know, but it doesn't matter whether it was me or them or whatever. I just actually genuinely made somebody so upset. You know what I mean? To the point where they were doing these things. And I'm like, I don't feel like it's not that I feel bad in the sense that I feel bad that it's my fault. But I'm like, how did I how did I do this to somebody on a regular basis that they actually like felt so shitty that these things came out of it? You know what I mean? You're like, oh, wow. Like, I'm an evil person.
Well, the thing is like you're putting on yourself again. We're in a situation like, how could this person not see the good in me?
Right.
And appreciate how it's them.
Right.
It was him. It was him not noticing the good things.
But I think it takes a lot for somebody to really realize where their faults are.
And he obviously didn't.
Fair, which is totally fair. But I think it takes a lot for people to realize where their faults are, right?
Ego is a huge killer.
And I think that's a big part of me in the sense of I look at if I see something going wrong, the first thing I think about is like, okay, so what is my involvement in this?
Right. And that's not that's a great way.
And it's not, I'm not blaming myself, but I'm going to take responsibility for the parts of,
That's very hard to do.
It is hard to do. Yeah. So if I have, but
that's also being a grown up.
It is,
How many grown-ups are in stupid situations?
Yeah,
90% of us?
Absolutely, but I think that's like a sign of maturity and what most grown-ups used to do. Maybe not today, but back in the day. How am I responsible here? What can I do to improve this?
You're absolutely right, and I think taking responsibility for yourself is something that, unfortunately, our society has completely... is slowly ridding of, right?
Absolutely. You did this. You did that.
Yeah,
Fuck you.
Not even that. They go into social media and they boast themselves on Instagram because if I'm not a good person at home, at least I'll be a good person on Instagram. I'm telling you that actually
I believe
happens.
that. I believe that.
But
an escape.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, like people can talk about all these like wonderful hunky-dory things that they're like doing, you know what I mean? But they're not actually practicing them in life. It's not really practicing what you preach, right?
No.
But I think that, self-responsibility is this thing that is slowly leaving our society, and it's quite frankly, in my opinion, disgusting.
It is disgusting.
I fucking agree. That's a great way to put it.
It's disgusting, you know what I mean? Because I just don't think anyone can ever improve themselves if they don't sit there and self-reflect and say, okay, and it's not blaming yourself. It's just like, okay, where did this go wrong? How can I make this better? Because it's not going to make itself better, right? So if I have somebody who comes to the bar, for example, and I train them to bartend and it doesn't work out, so I always reflect back and I'm like, okay, not you, but I always reflect back. And I'm like,
self-awareness right there. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I always reflect back to think, okay, did I not train them enough? Did I not invest enough time? Maybe it's maybe it's the way that I'm training them. Do I need to look at things differently? Like, you know what I mean? And maybe at the end, at that thought process, I'm like, no, I don't. Like maybe it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Or this isn't their thing, right? It's not meant for everybody. It doesn't matter what it is, right? But you know, there's this part of you that just needs to determine what your involvement in that situation was.
So you almost take a step back and give yourself like a self-evaluation.
It's hard though.
It's like, okay, could I? No, this is pretty much them. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it is, it is. But like, you know, I just
in all fairness, in that relationship, I think. Looking back and knowing what I do now, I think there was a lot of mental illness you were dealing with.
100% there was.
Yeah, for sure.
It sounds like there definitely was.
100%. And I think there's a part of me that has sympathy to the whole situation because of that.
Oh.
Right.
You know, and I think maybe that's where kind of my soft points come out, is that I have a lot of sympathy to that because I think it is there. And whether or not it's been addressed since then. I hope it has. You know, like I don't know, unfortunately.
Sure, neither do I.
But I think there's absolutely no stigma, and I think the only thing that I would ever want of that whole situation is that if it is ever addressed, like I think that is like that. To me, is an accomplishment.
Absolutely.
You know, if that whole relationship got somebody to a point where they can address a situation and make themselves a better person, like that, like literally, I would die happy knowing that. You know what I mean?
There would be a purpose.
There would be a purpose for everything.
And the amount, like I look back, and in fairness to the individual. Like at that point I was drinking to escape. I know it got increased over time.
I think there was a group of people.
A group of people. Let's be honest.
A group of people that were drinking to escape at that point in time.
I think there was a lot of underlying mental illness. Some of us have maybe admitted it. Some of us not so much. But at this moment in time, I think that that's okay.
Yeah,
okay.
No, I think there was a lot of drinking and a lot of partying that was happening during that particular time and era, you know, and it is what it is, right? And people go through those phases, but it was
as long as it's a phase and it stops, right? And you learn from it, I guess, at the end of the day. But I think you've obviously come out of this an incredible woman, as you were at the time you're in it as well.
Thank you.
But did any of it ever carry into your relationships past that? Like, I don't know how many there's been, but like
not that many.
Okay.
Actually, probably my current relationship is probably the only relationship that I've had that's been like serious or noteworthy.
Right. Since that point in time.
Yeah, and it's
so. How did it affect you? Were you afraid? Like, has it taken this long because you were afraid of letting someone in, or?
Probably, yeah. And I think part of me was I was on this wild chase of independence. Like I was like, and that. I look at it now, and maybe everything that I was doing was not necessarily defining independence, but I think at the time, it was just like I wanted to accomplish these things, you know, and like, you know, I wanted to buy my own house, and you know, I wanted a new car, and I know that they're materialistic, but I think the point of it was I don't need to be with another person to accomplish these things. I can do this on my own. I can have a roof over my head by myself. I can have a vehicle by myself. I can have things by myself.
You can be a boss by yourself.
I was waiting for that.
And then, ironically, after that breakup, months later, that's when Gatsby happened.
Right.
Which was right. So you can just imagine.
Did you go to Gatsby?
I went a few times. It wasn't
fucking mayhem.
Was it?
Yeah, it was total mayhem. And that totally was by accident.
Right.
There was absolutely, like, I was not really, like, Nick Spina was the driving force behind that whole idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and John, right? Like, Nick and John, like, they got their ideas together and they created this monster. Yeah. And it literally just fell on my lap because...
It was bananas.
It was bananas. But the thing was that nobody really wanted to go over there because nobody knew what was going to happen with it. Because it, like, you know, we had a past of instability with Rouge and, like, whatever. Right. And I was in this situation where I had this full-time job and I was just doing this on the side. So I was like, I'll go as long as if it doesn't work out, like, you guys will take me back at Robinson Hall, right? Yeah, like, I had my full-time job. Like, I wasn't invested. Mm-hmm. And, like, who knew that this thing was going to turn into this...
Can you
Okay,
so for the
like wild.
What happened there?
So the viewers, I want everyone to understand.
I don't even know what didn't happen there.
Let me see if I can do a fair explanation of this place.
Okay.
So for all you that go to the bar and it's pretty tame. There's bouncers. I'm not talking ill will because I had a riot there. Yeah. So let's just say that. So it's not ill will. However, so it's kind of like, you know, when you have a classroom of kids.
Yeah.
And the teacher's there.
I've been in a classroom of kids. I don't know how it is to have them.
Let me describe this so you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
So you have a classroom of the regular teachers there, and it's all the kids are behaved. Then you have a substitute teacher.
Yes.
And shit's a little bananas.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 hours where there's no teacher in the classroom. The 2 hours with no teacher in the classroom was
Gatsby.
Fucking absolute mayhem.
It was wild.
It was
wild.
I fell off the... I'm not going to get into it. I fell over a railing onto the bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, was that the one at the back?
I fell off and landed on my hip.
Yeah, really? I think I've been up there before.
There was an air gun. Remember that air gun?
Yeah. So
I had a little bit to drink that night. Yeah.
Yeah, there was like...
Did that spray smoke?
The CO2.
I didn't expect it to be as powerful. It was, and then I fell pretty far, too.
It was crazy. But I think the thing was there was... everything happened right for that place.
Right.
It was just the right recipe.
For disaster.
Yeah.
For happy disaster.
But it was like, it was the right timing. Like, it was totally the right timing. Like, people were going out hard.
Yeah.
Like,
Gatsby the movie. It could really...
Yeah, Gatsby the movie had just come out. Like, kind of...
That was the problem,
persona.
though, wasn't it? Didn't that create problems for you guys with the name?
Oh, no. Well,
didn't you have to change the name based on all that crap?
Kind of, sort of. There's like, no, not really. There's more to that story,
okay,
but I think the big thing was that when there was like the split, the divorce of John and Nick.
Yes.
John just needed his own entity, his own bar, his own brand, and it was like that's what we went with, and then it became Belfort. You know what I mean? I think that's in essence what it is. I'm sure John's gonna be like, why did you say that?
It's a different dynamic though.
Totally.
I've been to Belfort. It's not the same.
You know what? I think that I honestly will tell you. I think there's just the years of Gatsby. I think it was just people were on fire. They were going out all the time. Like this was the days when like people were lining up at 10:30. I remember lining up at 10:30. Who lines up at 10:30? Yeah. I don't even know.
Does that happen anymore? Yeah, but this was during the summer too, was it not?
Summers were like okay. Our first summer was
bonkers.
Was pretty good, but we couldn't do the whole place.
So most of it was during the school year that it got
my God, yeah.
Bananas.
But it was just I remember at some point on a Halloween standing up on a cinder block like this, or I don't even know if it's a cinder block. It's more like a concrete massive block, like 3 or 4 feet off the ground, literally yelling at people to try and control traffic because our parking lot had like probably 250 people in it.
Really?
But the bar, like our manager messages me, like our other manager messaged me. He's like, I'm not really sure what you're doing out there, but the bar is dangerously full. And I'm like,
it was
I can't count.
Isn't there a YouTube video of a bouncer working at Gatsby? We should definitely clip that underneath the story so people have an idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, he put a camera in his jacket.
And you can find a YouTube GoPro video of a bouncer talking to students. And you have an idea of what the staff was dealing with. Because it wasn't the staff's fault.
Right.
All of them. But there's a YouTube video that we will click underneath. And
we'll only click that if that's going to be okay with you.
Yeah, totally. Do it. It has millions of views. Like
really?
Totally. It's very interesting though, right? Because it's so funny because I always love talking about work because I love what I do.
You're passionate about it.
I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah.
However, people always want to know about the bar, and I think it's because everyone can relate to the bar. I want to tell you everyone can relate about real estate, but not everyone relates about commercial real estate, even though I love talking about it, but whatever.
Sure.
But everybody can relate to the bar, and everybody always wants to know what's going on at the bar. And
cool.
It's very, very cool. This video is cool just because it sheds light on the parts that people don't see, because I think at the end result, usually the people that work in the bar are always given kind of the negative impact or the negative tone, side. Right? But people don't realize like how much abuse like gets to you take in a night, right? You know, like I can tell you that people have, you know, a couple weeks ago somebody told me I was shameful for wearing a crop top.
What?
I don't know.
I've done both. I bounced and bartended.
Yeah,
so
but it was this was all because this was all result of because their friend was not in dress code. Right, like was not dressed properly for the bar, right? So we couldn't let them in.
So it wasn't just a fashion faux pas. Crop tops are in.
No. So, but they just took it upon themselves to make fun of